What's the craziest thing you saw in one of these things?
Getting robbed at gunpoint.
You got robbed at gunpoint?
The whole room got robbed at gunpoint.
By a player or someone who came in?
Guys came in with guns and
What
balaclavas.
was the door guy up to? Like, this is why you gotta ask him if they're cops.
If he's got a pistol and they got, automatic weapons semi-automatic rifles.
The doorman let him in.
That's it. Heads down.
Yeah.
Hands down. Took all the money.
Welcome back to the show. Today I have Collin Slattery. Colin has a fascinating story. Sometimes the stories are hard hitting. Colin's is just fascinating. Former professional poker player, former mayoral candidate for New York City mayor. He's built a $2 million a year business that is largely a lifestyle business, makes very good money from the business. And we're going to get into all that, all those stories, how he did the business, all that stuff. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
I think we just got to start with poker.
Sure, why not?
Like, you just don't see a lot of, I played poker in, underground poker rooms, and then I ran for mayor. It's a weird journey,
Yeah. I don't know. When you grow up in New York City and you're a nerd, you find nerdy activities like playing cards. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering. And, it just transitioned into other card games like playing poker.
Did you do, other nerdy stuff? Were you, a video game kid?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like an MMO kid.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, OG World of Warcraft.
Did you ever do, your own servers?
I did not.
Okay.
No.
So gaming and nerdy kind of how do I beat this level? How do I get to another level? How do I level up? That's like a common breadcrumb, I find, for entrepreneurial people, right? Like gaming or something like that. They're just nerding out about a specific kind of niche-y thing. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's where I learned all of my leadership skills was playing MMORPGs. So whether that's a good or a bad thing, unclear. But
okay, so you're playing you're playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
you're like a kid. You're like a teenager, basically.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing a lot of people play professional poker. Not a lot. Some people play professional poker.
Yeah.
Very few do it as not an 18-year-old, right? So
yeah,
you're like a teenager. Did somebody approach you hey man, you want to get into some real money, or how did this go down? I'm envisioning something very back alley,
Yeah, I mean there were those card stores, right? I'd play Magic after school, and it was like, hey, do you want to come play some poker? I was like, yeah, why not?
Somebody at the card store is just hey kid.
Yeah,
you got the it factor.
I think they were like, we want to take your money. Is the actual reason they.
How did you have
me.
money? How'd you get your money?
So I ran a business. I ran two businesses in high school.
Okay.
So I sold Magic cards online on eBay. So I'd trade, make money on the trades, then sell them on eBay. And I ran a candy business in school. So
a candy business meaning you bought dollar store candy and sold it in your school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Precisely.
That's you're probably the third person who's had that exact same flip. I mean, eBay is a common one, but yeah, the candy thing, the candy hustle is a good hustle for kids.
It was a great hustle, and I undercut all of the other kids.
There were other candy hustlers at your school?
So
damn, the candy game was competitive.
So it was how all the clubs in school made their money to support their activities, and I used it to support my personal activities.
Yeah, you're just I'm just trying to buy stuff.
Yeah. The principal did not really appreciate my undercutting the clubs. Yeah.
They're raising money so they can go to regionals.
Yeah.
You're just
I'm raising money so I can buy more
Magic
cards. Exactly.
Okay, so I mean, were you ever good at school?
Test wise, yes, but I never did homework, so
tried.
That was
Did your parents care or what?
My mother didn't give a shit.
Is it just your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're kind of a nerdy kid. You got a couple of the breadcrumbs, right? You got the flip businesses in school. You had some money. Tell me about going to your first poker game. Did it seem pretty normal, or was it did it feel like a sketchy experience? You're I might get shivved or.
Oh, it was sketchy as fuck, and they're all sketchy.
Okay.
It was underground beneath a restaurant.
Actually, so people say underground. It was literally underground.
It was in the basement of a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. on
Like
like 26th
was it a
Street.
Chinese restaurant?
It was not. I don't remember the restaurant, but something in
Alright.
Midtown. Yeah,
Cool.
26th
This sounds
Street,
like
I
a
think.
movie, right? So you go on 26th Street. You go do you go straight to the basement? You go into the restaurant and say code
You know
word?
how like they have like the side doors? You just like go downstairs. There's like a big dude standing there, and like I'm here for the game, and like they let you into this
And he
room.
doesn't like check your. He's not like, are you a cop or anything like that?
I
He
mean,
just-
I was 16, so it's probably pretty obvious that I wasn't a cop. I mean, I assume they probably do ask and like maybe frisk people down. And when I was an adult, you know, you can get frisked. But as a 16-year-old, I don't think he was
As a
too
16-year-old,
concerned about my risk for the game.
okay.
Yeah.
So he lets you in. Did you walk in there and say were they like, hey, Colin, or were they just like, what the fuck are you doing here, kid?
No, I mean, they're like, you want to sit down at the table
Yeah.
and like couple $100, 1-3 no limit. And like, it was so ratty. Like,
What's that mean? 1-3 no limit.
so no limit hold'em, small blind, big blind, $1, $3.
Okay.
So they did. It typically like or historically has been like 1-2, but they wanted to make the pots bigger.
Yeah.
So they always was like 1-3 in the
So these are
underground
like
rooms.
lower. These aren't super high stakes games.
Nah, a few $100 and you're on the table.
Okay. So how did you do that first night? Did you lose all your money?
No. I didn't do well, but I definitely didn't leave empty-handed.
How
I
does
was
that work?
so nervous.
So I guess when you see when you see poker on TV, there's like one winner. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So that's tournament poker, right? Cash poker is different. Like you can get up and leave anytime you want.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And you might just leave after 2 or 3 hours or
Yeah. Or you play all night until the game's over.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So at some point the game will end and everybody will just walk away with however much money they have.
Yeah. I mean, people are getting up and sitting down throughout the night.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're nervous. Did you like say anything? You just sit there and play quietly.
I mean, I was like not talking to anyone.
Do people talk?
People talk? Yeah, there's table talk.
What do they talk about?
I mean, it depends. Some people are talking about jobs. Some people are trying to like, you know, scare other people at the table, like talking about the hands, trying to get tells. I mean, there's a few different types of people at these like sketchy underground games.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
Hey, y'all, quick break to talk about the most important part of your business, which is hiring. I've hired a lot of team members from the Philippines. They're super hard workers. The problem is I have to come up with an exact checklist for them to follow, and I am not good at that. So they end up being held back by me. This is why I love working with More Staffing. More Staffing specializes in finding talent from the Philippines that is high level. So you can just hand them your goals and they'll use their skills to get you there. I've actually done some hiring through More Staffing, and they were able to find me seriously great marketers for around a third of the price that I would pay a US employee. So if that sounds like it could help you, go to morenow.com/MC so that they know that you came from the podcast that helps support the podcast. And it helps improve your business because you get great talent for a third of the price. So that's morenow.com/MC. Okay, back to the show.
there's a few different types of people at these like sketchy underground games.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
like grinders, so people who like do it professionally, like make a living at it, right? And then there's, you know, just dudes, professionals who are like, I'm just here to, you know, let off some steam, have a little fun for the night.
Yeah, just someone who has a different job.
Yeah, they work at a bank or something, and they're like, I don't care if I lose $300 tonight. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit down and play some poker.
Yeah, and then there's 16-year-old kids with more money than they're supposed to have. Is that a common avatar at these things?
I was generally always the only underage person, but you know, a lot of like young people, you know, 18, 19, early 20s. That was like the heyday of, I guess, like online poker too, where people are like grinding 10 tables on like Poker Stars and shit like that.
Yeah, okay. So they wanted to come try the IRL version.
Yeah.
Who usually is winning? Is it the grinder people? Like the guys who say,
Well, it's the
like,
house.
If you work at a bank all day and you're like, I'm just trying to blow off some steam. I don't care if I lose a few $100 tonight. Like, you're probably just gonna lose the few $100, right?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. So like, you want those people at the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Do the people who organize the game, do they want it to be like a good game with good players, or do they want it to be, what do they want the makeup of the table to look like?
I mean, I think they want as much money on the table as they can get on the table.
I gotcha.
So
just
they want
with
people who
money.
are gonna like blow their money and then buy back in. You know, because and there are those guys who will do that, right? Who they don't care about $300 and they'll pull another $300 out of their wallet, and they'll
Yeah.
pull another $300 out of their wallet.
So you got into that. That was kind of how often were you playing?
A couple nights a week.
What did you feel like was it like an addicting thing, or were you like, this is just another way for me to make money?
It felt like a fun way to make money, and I was like, I'm smarter than these people, so like I can do this.
Were you mostly winning? Like, were you mostly making money?
I mean, it's ups and downs, but I made a lot of money playing poker over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get into like bigger and bigger games over time?
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Is like you have these like entry level games where basically anyone can get in, and they're like super sketchy
In
locations.
my brain, it's all Russians in there.
Uh,
Like they're just like you. If you speak, they're all just like you buy. It's this $1 buy-in.
yeah, from Rounders. Is that what you're?
I don't know why they're all Russian, but it's just all Russian guys. I don't know.
A lot of mob games.
Okay.
Lot
It's
of,
like super smoky. Is it super smoky? In my brain, it is smoky and it's Russian.
It's just, I mean, some of those games are like really sad, actually.
Really?
Like, it's just like the
Like, just-
table's dirty. You're sitting in like old, like, computer chairs that like have seen much better days. Just like,
Yeah.
Ratty cards, ratty chips. Like, it's just
It's like depressing.
Yeah,
Everyone
those-
there is depressed.
like you got the people who are like, I mean, you're squeaking out a kind of not amazing living. A lot of those grinders.
Yeah.
Those early tables are not great, but
Okay. So you started leveling up from those tables.
oh
and
yeah,
then-
you
okay.
level up, and like there's bigger games at like nicer places.
Uh-huh.
Famous athletes would play in underground card rooms. There was a
Right.
place called Bluff where members of the Yankees would play.
Were you in those games?
No, I didn't have enough money for those, but like they had lots of tables.
That's like
so
the,
you could
that's
play
like the Molly's game era, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
okay.
100%.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure there were much nicer games that like I also couldn't get into, but
Right.
those rooms will like send people there, and
Uh-huh.
they will be like, hey, I'm seeing you at this game. We have a better game over here. The rake's lower. Like, why don't you come by and check
What's
it
a
out?
rake?
So it's what the house takes out of the pot.
What is that? Like, how do they usually structure? Is it like a percentage or?
So sometimes there's a percentage. Sometimes there's a thing called like a time rake where they'll like take a certain amount out of the pots over like the course of an hour, and then they won't rake anymore. So it really depends on the house and how greedy they are.
They'll like take money out of the pot every hour?
So like sometimes they take it out of every pot, but like a time rake, right? Like it'll be like, okay, we're going to take, $150 an hour, $200 an hour.
I see.
And so they'll keep taking a certain amount out of the pot until they hit that dollar amount.
Okay.
And then they won't rake for the rest of that hour.
I see. All right. So it's like a flat hourly, or sometimes it's a percentage of
Yeah.
like every hand, or
Every
okay.
pot.
Gotcha. So they may like take what, like 5% of every hand or every pot. or
It's
something.
I mean, it depends, but yeah, it's yeah.
Okay, how high can the percent get?
I mean, probably pretty high. I mean, some of those
What's
early
the highest
games,
you saw?
probably 10-15%.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
they'll take some money.
So people will see you. They're like, "Oh, you're pretty good. You can come over," or "You have money." How do you
Yeah.
get leveled up? You know what I mean? Like, because you say in like the nicer games, they'll send sort of scouts
Yeah.
to these less nice games. How do they decide who they're inviting over?
I mean, it's usually money based.
Okay.
They do like a mix of people who are, I guess, good, and also then people who have fish who will
Yeah.
spew money.
Yeah.
But
And which one were you?
I mean, I was definitely a grinder.
Yeah. You started doing this for like that. This was the main way you made money.
Oh yeah, for a few years this was the main way I made money.
Okay.
Like 19, 20, 21.
Okay. Were you still living with your mom, or you have your
No,
own
I
shop?
was
Were you making
independent.
good money?
I was I mean like it was decent money. Like it was better than like I didn't go to college, so like it was better than whatever dead end job that I was gonna make, but I wasn't making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or anything like that.
Is there people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year playing underground poker?
Yeah, probably a few. It's
a lot.
like I think for the most part, like if you're at that level, especially once you hit 21, right? You go to Atlantic City, you go to Vegas, where there's just more money
Tournament poker.
and less risky. Like you're not going to get robbed.
Right. Well, because so what's the craziest thing you saw in one of these things?
Getting robbed at gunpoint.
You got robbed at gunpoint?
The whole room got robbed at gunpoint.
by a player or someone who came in?
Guys came in with guns and
What was the door
balaclavas.
guy up to? Like, this is why you got to ask him if they're cops.
If he's got a pistol and they got, automatic weapons
So
semi-automatic
so
rifles,
the doorman let him in.
that's it. Heads down.
Yeah.
Hands down. Took all the money.
So these dudes just came in with automatic weapons and just took all the money on the table. And then what did you guys do after that? Like, all right, I guess time to go home, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, cost of doing business, I guess.
Have a good night.
Like, game's over. Like,
Would you go when you went? Would you like only take the amount? Would you have like some backup cash?
so I usually brought at least a couple of buy-ins. So, I
Okay.
mean, sometimes you have, and this is the part where it's like really shitty when it's your job, right? Is because if someone has a lot more money than you, they can play very poorly, but they're just like pushing you around because they have money.
Yeah.
And you're like,
You've got to play every hand perfectly.
yes, I should like be going all in on this, and then you do, and they get lucky, and then you lose your money.
Right.
But like they can just spew chips, and because there's luck involved, right? And
Right.
over n hands you're gonna make money, but that it doesn't feel good when you have a bad run of cards and you lose all your money for the night.
Yeah. What's the most you ever lost in a night?
$10,000,
What's the most you ever made in a night?
$30,000.
Hey, there we go. That's a 3 ROAS. What's the most you ever watched somebody lose in a night?
I mean, at a table that I was playing at,
Yeah.
probably 20 G's,
What
25
about-
G's.
Why did you make that qualifier?
Because you're in rooms with like bigger tables, right? So
Okay.
like some of these card rooms back in the day would have like 8 tables.
Uh-huh.
So like big spaces. I mean, they would have them even in like office buildings, and I'm sure they still exist.
Uh-huh.
Now probably more than it used to because a lot of empty office space. So
Yeah.
great for card games. But if you're playing at like, the 3-5 table or whatever, and there's a 5-10 table, like I obviously, don't have the money to play at the 5-10 table, but some people do. And
Yeah.
so like
So what's the most you ever saw somebody lose in a room you were in?
probably 50 G's.
Jeez. In a night.
Yeah.
When you lost that 10 grand, was it like, did it hurt your confidence, or were you just like, it's not like, do you get good at just seeing it as monopoly money? You know what I'm saying?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I always
Are you
like,
supposed to? Is that what like?
yeah, I mean, you need to be, it's like the professional traders too, right? In the
Yeah.
stock market where you're like, it's just numbers
It's
on a
just number-
screen. You don't
yeah.
get emotionally attached to it at all.
Uh-huh.
And I was always really bad at that, which is why it's not a good long-term. job
I
for
guess.
me.
Is that why you got out? Tell me why you got out of it. I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly. It was like, it's going to be a lot less emotionally draining and stressful, like starting a business from scratch.
Right.
Like,
So you're 20 years old, probably, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing this grindy poker thing. Did you drop all the? I mean, I guess you didn't go to college. You
Yeah.
weren't doing any other kind of entrepreneurial stuff at that point. You're just playing poker,
no, I was like, I mean, I did day trading too, which
which is just another form
yeah,
of poker.
exactly.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's like a combination. It's like you're building skills, but it's skills that also involve luck, right?
Yeah.
So did you like stop cold turkey at 20 years old? Like, is there a moment where you were like, I got to stop doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I got busted with quad kings, and
What's that?
I had 4 kings.
Oh,
Yeah, I lost to 4 aces. Like,
what?
I like, and the other thing about these underground rooms is like, you don't know if like the dealers are legit. Like, there's definitely cheating that goes on. They have plants at tables, so like that's always something you have to be careful because obviously it's entirely illegal, like, right?
Yeah.
So
Did the cops ever come in and bust it up?
I got never busted by the cops, but like I'm sure it happened. I mean, it happened once it started getting pretty violent in the city. They started like shutting rooms down because again, like you get
Yeah, 'cause
robbed at
people-
gunpoint, and like, what are you gonna do? Call the cops? And so
Yeah.
they started shutting shit down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got you got 4 kings.
Yeah.
Is that the night you lost 10 grand?
Yes.
So you go all in
Yeah.
on 4 kings.
Yeah.
Lay it down. Other guy has 4 aces.
Well, he got it on the river.
Oh.
I mean, he obviously had pocket aces.
Yeah, when did you have 4 kings?
I flopped it.
Okay.
I mean, we were both
So
all
that's-
we were both
So you
all
flopped
we
it
were
and
both all
just,
in.
and just
pre-flop.
for non. Oh, really? Pre-flop. So you got your 2 cards.
Oh yeah.
He got his 2 cards, and you're like, 10 G's. Who went all in?
I mean, I went all in first.
And he called it.
Because, like, he pushed me, and I pushed back, and then he pushed me. And I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Um,
And that seems like what you're
I mean, it was
supposed
not
to
a
do.
10G pot. I was a little heated. Like, I had lost some chips at that point at that night. So I was,
You were
again,
getting pissed.
emotional,
Yeah,
right?
you got pissed.
Like, and, you know, typically you're going to go all in with pocket kings. But
Yeah, so you had 2 kings. You guys lay them down. Then just so people, like, because I understand it a little bit. So the way Hold'em works is you get 2 cards initially.
yeah.
And then 3 more cards get laid on the table, and either of you guys can use that in your hand, right?
Yeah. So it's 3, and then
that's
it's 1, and then
that's
it's 1.
And that's the flop, the 3.
Yeah.
And then it's 1, and then it's 1.
Right.
But you guys are both all in, so we're going to play the whole hand.
That's
out.
right. Yeah.
Meaning you got 2 kings. What did he have?
You have pocket aces.
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah.
got 2 kings. he's
Yeah.
got
So,
2
like, I
aces.
mean, like, right there, I was like, you know, I'm a big dog. Like,
Yeah.
there's low probability of winning. So it was an emotional roller coaster.
So then on the flop, you got 2 more kings.
Yes.
No aces.
1 ace.
1 ace.
Yeah.
So still very emotional.
Yes.
And then the turn, nothing.
Dud. 7 of clubs.
7 of clubs. And then you got an ace on the last card.
Yeah.
On the river. That's a wild ride of
Eh,
a poker. Like the World Series of Poker wishes that hand would happen
I mean,
on TV.
I'm sure it's happened on TV.
Yeah.
But I mean, they happen, right? I mean, statistically, it'll happen.
Yeah.
But
That's not a common like kind of hand.
No,
where
no,
you
no,
both go
no.
where somebody goes all in before the flop.
It's
they
like
even see the flop.
it's a suspicious hand.
Yeah.
It's a very suspicious hand. I mean, again, statistically, it'll happen, but suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Did you think maybe like I think you might have got a little dealer help?
I mean, I was distraught. I was like,
But if he was getting dealer help, why would have you have gotten your 4 kings? Even?
I
You know
mean,
what you know what I'm saying? You're like, I don't know, man.
I was like
I try not to
so
think about it.
distraught because like I could not really afford to lose that much money in
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
a single
So
night.
you lose the 10 grand, and what did that mean to you at the time? Where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna pay rent. Like what did that mean?
Yeah, I mean, like I mean, I always had rent money, but it was like blew a giant hole in my bankroll, and I was like, I can't keep doing this.
Now,
like,
now I'm gonna go back to the smaller rooms for a minute,
I mean,
but you basically were just like, I can't do it anymore.
yeah, I mean, like you're also up to like 5 o'clock in the morning every night.
Yeah.
Like you're in like sketchy illegal stuff all the time. It is dealing with criminal enterprises. Like it was really sketchy. And I was
Do
like, this
people
is
get into
unhealthy.
other illegal stuff from there usually? Like, do people get into drugs from it, or like, do you see a lot
I
of
don't
that?
think so.
No. It's mainly just people want to play poker. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's not legal.
it's
in the
mostly
city.
just people who like want to blow off some steam. Like
Yeah.
there's a small number of people who are doing like grindy stuff in those rooms.
The guy you lost to. Did you know him?
No,
Was he another grinder? Do you know? I guess you didn't know him.
no. I mean, like
You can't tell.
he had money, so I assumed he was a banker. But yeah.
You can't tell if somebody's like a player or not.
I mean, you can you know, you'll also see people over and over again. Like there's a small group of grinders that'll be at games regularly, and like some people will, you know, again like play at the same game. So you do get to know people.
Yeah.
But
there's
a lot of people that are in and out too.
He was a new face though.
Yeah.
That's sketchy, dude. He was for sure cheating. I'm on Team Colin on this one.
You know, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you
I'm
get
not trying
unlucky.
to accuse anybody. But,
Yeah, I mean, and again, probably, you know, was not the smartest move on my part, but
yeah. I mean,
it got me out of poker.
You let yourself get emotional. All right. So yeah, do you see that as a positive thing that it got you out of it?
I mean, I was gonna get out of it at any point. I would have preferred to get out of it with not
Like maybe on the
brutal
30K
back.
win, maybe on the 30K win night, that was the night to get out of it.
Yeah, well, and again, like you're up and you're down every night. Like
Right.
that's the thing. So, and that's the swings were the part that really gets you, right? Is like
Yeah.
some nights you win a lot of money, some nights you lose a lot of money, and yeah, like over, you know, the year you're gonna make money, but like you don't make money every night. And if you're not emotionally detached, you're just
It's really hard to do that.
yeah, it's brutal.
So that was the last time you went to one of these rooms and played?
No. So I've gone a few times over the intervening years. Usually it's
Just like for fun or what?
well, I'll tell the story and someone will be like, "Hey, I've always wanted to go to an underground card game."
Uh-huh.
And I'll be like, "Okay."
And
I mean, I'm sure I can
all right,
find
let's go.
one.
Yeah.
And we'll go. We'll play for a few hours. They'll be like, "This is the sketchiest shit I've ever seen in my entire
You're like,
life."
yeah, it's not what you think.
Right. Yeah,
I'm like,
they
it's
have
not
this
smoking Russians.
no, it's like not some like opening some door into some beautiful like underground casino with, you know,
Yeah.
people in suits and stuff. It's just like a ratty table and some dirty computer chairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I haven't
So you've
played
gone a
in-
few times when friends have wanted to go or whatever.
Yeah, I mean I probably haven't done it in 6 years. So
Gotcha. Okay. So what did you do? Like, I mean, that's the way you were making your money. I'm assuming day trading, you weren't crushing it.
no.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be a trader right now. So
Well, this was also like back during the massive recession, right? Where like volatility was
nobody
crazy.
was really crushing it.
And I mean, doing
people were shorting, but
you know, I mean, doing 100x leverage like foreign exchange trading probably not the smartest thing to do.
yeah, I got into crypto that same way. I'm like, I don't want to make a little money. I want to leverage it out.
Right.
I want to lose all my money.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is essentially what you do.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I lost all my money, and like, how about put some more money in? You're
Yeah,
like, let
how
me
about I
lose
just
all of it again.
Let me lose all that.
Yeah. So
what'd you do though? Like you got out of that. Basically, at this point, you've built the skill of. I mean, you've done some entrepreneurship stuff, but like your main actual skills you've built at this point are like trading, poker. I mean, have you built any other skills?
So I mean,
Like
I had
professional skills?
been doing web stuff for fun on the side since high school,
Mhm.
and like trying to make money online, which like black hat SEO stuff and
Uh-huh.
and things like that. But you know, it was more focused on the short term money
Yeah.
in the poker games. Yeah, like my first web business was
So
an online
you'd learn
pharmacy.
how to build. You'd built some skills like building websites or building.
Yeah, and did like SEO stuff, knew about SEO and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave the poker game and you just decide like you're gonna do that, or did you not know what you're gonna do for a minute?
Well, I got a regular job while I was trying to like build a web business on
Just
the side.
like working at 7-Eleven or what? Like,
No, I took like a marketing job for like a regional retailer.
how'd you get that job?
I applied from like Craigslist, and like it was surprising that I got the job because who hires, you know, kids without a college degree?
Yeah,
And
and you don't know them.
no, so what happened was so I went to a elite high school in New York,
Okay.
and the owner's wife had also gone to that high school.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Oh, you're clearly very smart. Like, I'll hire you."
That's the thing in New York. Like you got high school pedigree.
Yes. Oh, like when you meet other New Yorkers, it's not where'd you go to college; it's where you went to high school.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
And that like tells you a lot about them, huh?
yeah.
Got it.
You can know if they grew up like really rich. You can know if they're just like
So you
a
went
hustler.
but you went to an elite high school. What does that mean about you? Like, did you grow up rich, or did your parents have money? Your mom
No,
have
no,
money?
no, no. Dirt poor. Like 4 of us in a like a studio apartment.
How'd you do that then? How'd you go to the elite high school?
So it's a public school. It's free.
Oh,
You just have to test into it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just smart.
Yes.
You're good at testing.
Yeah. Well, definitely at that. Like
Yeah.
smart. Who knows? But you know, good
Yeah.
with tests.
I got it.
Yeah.
The 4 of you in a studio apartment.
Yeah.
You got 3 siblings
I have 2 siblings. So my 2 sisters and my mother.
and your
Yeah.
mom in a studio.
Yeah.
When was your dad like not in the picture anymore?
Oh, he died when I was 10. So
Wow.
yeah.
You feel like that like kind of shaped you at all, or
Yeah. I mean, like, you know,
you
having
can't not?
right. Having a parent die, I'm sure, you know, impacts thing. You're the man of the family, right? At 10.
Right. You're
Probably
like, I just want to play Magic cards. And, like,
I was like,
don't wanna be the
I
man.
just want to make money.
Is that what it was? Like, was it because you guys were poor that you wanted to make money so much? And like you were focused on short money.
No,
quick
so
money.
I mean, we had actually like started wealthy as like a small child, and then we had gotten like poorer and poorer and poorer.
How? What happened?
So he had cancer, and so we had to pay for all that treatment, right,
see.
for like a decade.
Uh-huh.
And then when he died, we were all poor,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I miss like that country club lifestyle. I want to get back there.
Yeah. What happened there?
Um,
And so So like you're experiencing that. And then do you think that also is why you're focused on like short-term money instead of like, let me go to school, let me do the thing that I'm going to, make money in the long run for?
Yeah, I mean, and probably. And you're relatively smart. You kind of also like a child. Like
That's true.
the rules don't apply to me, right?
Sometimes you're too smart for your own good. You know what I mean? And you're like, you don't think long term because you can do something short term that's going to work.
No, and you like do this math in your head that like obviously other people have also thought of and doesn't work. Where it's like, hey, if I just get a 1% return every day and compound it over a year, right? Like
you're 365%.
You're like you're a day trader and you're like, all right, 100-to-1 leverage, like 1% a day, compounded every day over the year, like easy.
I'm gonna kill it.
Why is that? Like
I'll be a multimillionaire next year.
Exactly, and a little harder than it looks.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, I get you. Okay, so you're doing this marketing job. How long did it take you? Like, is that like what did you learn there? Like, what skills did you build?
So that's when I started doing paid advertising.
Okay.
But like I did everything. And I had been doing SEO stuff and web stuff, my black hat stuff on the side, and I'd already had my web hosting company at that point. But I was like, I need a real income while I try to figure this shit out. So
you started running that was when you started running like Facebook ads, Google ads, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Google, doing like Amazon shit.
Doing with brands that are selling physical products, like e-commerce brands.
I was only doing the ad stuff for the client at the time, or I guess my employer at the time. But I was like, I would build websites for basically any way anyone would give me money for like web stuff. I was like, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll build a website. I'll run your email. Like I did emails for like local politicians, and then like had one of my clients for the longest time was like a small town in Westchester. I did the emails for them. They sent out like weekly
newsletters to their residents. Or?
Yeah, they sent out like weekly updates to like the residents of this tiny town, and like that was a client of mine, and I just like ran their email.
Yeah. Okay. So you're working there, and that was a client of yours while you worked at this place, or like were you getting like side gigs? Were you doing some side action?
Oh, this was all on the side, right? So I'm working full time with this retailer. And then,
and that's
at
how
night,
you're learning to do some Facebook ads, Google ads,
right?
Starting to build those skills, starting to get into that world and know where you can learn more of it.
Yeah.
And then at night you're, sending out emails to the citizens of Westchester.
Right. Exactly. Trying to get web hosting clients by like posting on Craigslist.
Yeah. So it started out as, the main business offering, aside from just being like a freelance, I'll do whatever you need type of thing, was you were trying to build like a web hosting business. Right?
That was the original business. Yeah. That didn't last for more than a few years.
Why were you trying to build a web hosting business?
Because it was cheap and easy.
What kind of clients would you go after?
Anyone who would give me money. Like I got lots of like
who needs web hosting, I guess is what I'm asking.
Like small performers, things like that. So, lots of actors in New York City, like place to say like what they've been in and headshots and things like that.
So you're selling people on the idea of like, hey, here's your own I'll stand up your website for you and you'll host it.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, right? Like I'd build the website for them and then I would get paid. Like I'll build you a free website and I get web hosting. I get the $10 a month from you.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
How come that didn't work out?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, oh man, I had, I don't know, a few hundred web hosting clients, and you resell it. There's like WHMS, I think it was, or WCMS, whatever the platform was, and like you work with a bigger host, so you're like basically reselling it on their server. You have a server, and the hard drive on mine died, and like I didn't have backups, so like every client website was ruined, like totally gone, and I had to like send the drive out to try and get like data recovery, and I was like, this is the dumbest way to make a couple $1,000s a month.
It was gone for what?
So I had to then rebuild the websites.
So explain what happened to me, but pretend I'm 12.
So I mean, a web server is just a computer, right? And it has a hard drive. and the websites are on the hard drive on the web server,
Uh-huh.
and the hard drive crashed. And so all that data was gone, including all the
All your
client
clients.
websites. Yeah.
And so now whatever the thing that they're paying for you, you're like, yeah, I'm not even doing that for them anymore.
Right. They don't have websites anymore.
So you had to rebuild every single one of them? Or
Yeah. I had like
did
old.
You do that?
I did.
I mean, that's good. You did the right thing.
It sucked. They were very angry.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
Like, who
As
is
they
this
should
kid
be.
who's like
Yeah.
running a hosting company and you have to rebuild their. I spent, and I didn't even have, it was brutal because it was like $1,000 to send it to like a data recovery specialist and they couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
I was like, do I get my money back? They're like, no.
Like, no, it was just
So
for
I
us,
was like,
that's just for us to look. you
yeah.
know?
And so I just had to suck it up and rebuild stuff from, local saves and stuff like that.
Jeez.
It was like
You rebuilt them all though.
yeah.
And that was what made you decide like that was a dumb way to make that much money. But you're still doing some like freelance stuff if people need
Yeah. So I had
Google
like,
ads or email ads. Or
yeah, I
something
had
like that.
consulting stuff too.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe the ones where they just, pay me $300 or $400 a month to like do their emails are a better way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got more into that. Like, when did it become what you would call like a proper agency?
With like full-time employees and shit.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
When would you call it a proper agency?
probably 2019.
Okay.
So I freelanced, like fully freelance for like 5 years.
Okay.
So I left the full-time job in 2014 and freelanced for like 5 years. And then I hired my first employee in, I guess, like October of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that was the first time it became a
And in
team.
between there, you ran for mayor.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
I always kind of wanted to run for mayor. And I always wanted to do the Bloomberg thing, right? Like,
Okay.
get really rich, run for mayor.
So the bit you just figured like I'll just flip it.
Well, at the time, like Trump had been elected, right? And everyone, like, it's New York, right? It's very liberal. Everyone was very pissed about it. And no one liked Bill de Blasio. So I was like, I don't know. It's kind of our time, millennials, whatever. Like, maybe I'll get people who are like, yeah, young kid running for office. I was like, why not? Worst case, it's an interesting story.
Well, yeah. So break it down. What, like, can I just like say, yeah, hey, I want to be mayor and just run? Like in New York City, I can do that where I live for sure because there's only like, a few hundred people who live there.
Right.
But like in New York City, can you just be like, I'm in?
Yeah. I mean, you have to like set up a company. You have to go to, actually, I don't even know if you have to go to the trainings, but there are trainings that are done by like, the city.
They got like mayor training.
They have like candidate training.
Okay.
Yeah. And you go and they give you these packets so you like learn about campaign finance and stuff like that. Show you how to use like the campaign finance system to report like donations to your campaign.
Yeah.
How like public matching funds work. And yeah, you just stand up your committee and then start trying to, build a campaign and get people to
Did you have
support
people helping you with it or
A couple of people, yeah. Some volunteers.
just like some people, some friends or what?
Friends, yeah, friends.
Yeah.
I was like, did I have any non-friend volunteers? No.
No. Yeah.
And like early donations, mostly friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like get to a point where you were legit like raising donations from strangers?
I mean, I got donations from strangers, like not a ton of money. I mean, I think I probably raised, I can actually go back and look this up because it's probably still in the record, but like not more than, I think like 10 grand or something.
So it was 2017. You're how old at the time?
I guess I'm 28.
You were 28 at the time?
Yeah.
You didn't have like a cause or like you didn't see like an issue with this. You're just more mainly you were just like, maybe I could do it.
No, I mean, there were things that I thought were important. I mean, obviously housing costs were an issue then, bigger issue now. Like fare evasion was like aggressively criminalized at the time, which I thought was stupid.
What is that?
So like if you jump the turnstile on the subway,
Okay.
the cops can arrest you.
Okay.
And I thought that's kind of stupid for like a $3.25, crime.
Right.
Or I guess it was $2.75 at the time.
Yeah.
So, I had some issues like getting the subway in better shape as well. pretty left of center. And, I always joked because I did go to like debates and stuff. I got invited to, I think it was 2. You know, the one thing that I really wanted was the health insurance from being mayor because you get health insurance. And I did not have it at the time. So like, what are you looking forward to most as mayor? I'm like, the health insurance.
Well, who are the other candidates? Were they like, yeah, who are the other candidates when you're running for mayor? Is it like other just normal people? Or are they like city councilors? Or
So there's the long shot people like me who are running, then and like early debates and stuff, because this was the primary. Bill de Blasio is not showing up to debate me at some podunk like Democratic club debate deep in Brooklyn or something like that.
Okay.
So some are like the perennial people who run for office. There's some people who run like every cycle. But yeah, I mean, there's
They
really
just
no
run every cycle and they never get it.
Yeah, they just keep running.
And they're just like, what do they do in between?
Some of them are lawyers. Some of them are just local business people. I mean, all kinds of people.
All right.
There's especially with local office, right? There's not a lot of limitations. Any kind of crackpot can try to run for office. And some of them even
have
win.
Political aspirations still? Do you think you want to do that?
I mean, I'd run for mayor again. That's the only thing I want to do.
Do you think
if I'm going to do?
Do you think you could actually win it? Like, how would you actually win it? Like, what did you learn from this whole thing?
That the machine in New York is incredibly powerful.
What do you mean?
So like the politics in New York are run by like the Democratic machine, which is like Democratic clubs, like the Brooklyn Democratic Party, who like says who can, be on certain committees and directs their members to vote a certain way and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's run by, these old sclerotic, political.
Well, that was even happening. That's been happening for a long. It used to be like Teamsters, right? Like,
yeah, it was like a old Tammany Hall.
I don't even know what Teamsters are. Yeah, in Tammany Hall, but like I don't really fully get that or what was going on there. But I know that it used to be the same kind of thing. Like it was very corrupt politics.
It's still the same. It's still the same. Yeah.
Is it okay? So, do you think? I guess then to my question, in order to actually win, how would you do that? You
need
have
money.
to be tied in with them.
No, well, that's typically how you win, right? Or you're Bloomberg and you spend $100 million on it.
I gotcha.
Right. I mean, maybe it changes in the intervening decades, but I'm not eager to get into politics. It's a lot of scrutiny and a lot of shit eating for not a lot of benefit.
Yeah.
I'd rather make money and then when I've made money decide to maybe run again.
Got you. So did the agency start to become a little more specialized so it's kind of 2014 to 2019 you're just freelancing doing whatever for whoever?
In 2018 I decided to go paid ads only.
Okay.
Like from a freelance standpoint, I'm like, I hate SEO. I'm not doing a website ever again.
At that point were you still like did it lead to that pretty naturally where it's like, yeah, 80% of the time it's this anyway?
It was the thing I enjoyed the most because it was the most analytical, right? It was the most numbers driven.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this feels like the thing I should be doing. I enjoyed the most, I'm the best at it.
Yeah.
Like, why don't I stick with this one?
Yeah. And it's not my money, so I don't get as emotionally tied to it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The ad dollars are not my dollars.
Yeah. So you go paid only, you hire your first person. How are you getting clients this whole time? Freelancing clients.
I mean, mostly referrals. I feel like that's kind of like every agency.
Every agency.
Like if you crack outbound and like hopefully we can try to crack it this year. Like that's what really scales an agency, right? So yeah, mostly.
Meaning translating that, like if you can reach out to clients, get them to take a call with you and close clients that way.
Exactly. If you can go out and find clients.
This business owner says, yeah, I work with this guy. And because that's incredibly unreliable when you're doing referrals.
It's inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
And you can have you can pull people in through like content like Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you can go out and like call people and then turn them into clients, like that's how you can really scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, mostly referrals. I mean, even today it's still primarily referrals, and then through.
How many team members do you have now?
We'll be 9 this month.
9 team members, paid ads only, primarily for e-commerce brands, or what?
Yeah, so majority e-commerce, paid ads only, although it's not really paid ads only. We do landing pages as well as part of it, because if you're sending traffic to a shitty website, they're not going to convert. So that was always something that I had done. It was especially true with Google back in the day. So we do that as well. But 90% of the revenue is Facebook and Google ads.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
9 team members. You guys are going to do between 1.5 and 2.3 million dollars this year.
Yeah.
It's just like you just focus on doing good work and you get the referrals. Kind of. Do you focus on anything kind of to get more consistent lead flow for the agency?
So that's one of the things that I want to spend more time on this year, and like I've started doing more social media content. Right. I still have some SEO knowledge, so like just writing content as well, blog posts, and I think advertising for the agency. It's like the cobbler's children, right? Don't have nice shoes.
Yeah.
Agency advertising. I mean, the thing with agency advertising is it's really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that a lot of the times there are some agencies that do it really well. But I think a lot of the time, if you have an advertising agency, so my agency runs Google ads for for e-commerce brands, or Facebook ads for e-commerce brands. It's very, very different than running Facebook or Google ads for an agency, right? Because like anybody could buy natural deodorant,
right?
Like, if somebody wants to come buy your agency services, like, well, you got to have a business first, like, and you got to be at this certain revenue level where it makes sense for you to actually pay for my services, and we're going to be able to have an impact, by managing your ad spend and stuff like that. So I think that's what ultimately makes it harder to do, is just like a broader, it's a more narrow market for those platforms that are very broad, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, especially we're dealing with relatively large transaction sizes too, right?
Right.
Like, what's the lifetime value of a client for an agency? Between 50 and probably, $250,000. I mean, the higher level, even more. And so like on Google, right, click costs are insane.
Yeah.
So like you can pay $200, $300 a click for agency related keywords.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, are you going to spend $30,000 a month on like Google ads to figure it out? And like you will eventually, right? But it's not typically the first place I would start.
What's been your focus before this? Like you're saying, this year has been your personal focus, because I'm guessing you've got 9 team members. Probably some of them are fulfilling clients, meaning they're the ones running ads for the clients.
So that is my biggest problem, is I'm still very involved in like client work.
Doing the client work.
Oh yeah. Like day-to-day client work.
Are you trying to get that off your plate?
Yes. Yeah. And I obviously still want to be involved in strategy and all of that. But like, do I have to be going in and doing like negative keyword lists for clients? Like no. But you build it from nothing, right? It's kind of your baby, and it can be hard to like let go of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I think a fun way to kind of use these last few minutes, I think, and sometimes I lead with this, sometimes it's toward the end or whatever, is kind of like a problem solver format or a brainstorm. So, something that's on your mind right now, a problem you're trying to solve in the business, or I guess it could be in your personal life, although I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you. Like what's something you're trying to crack right now, something you're trying to solve? I think agency is interesting because I've talked to a lot of agencies in that same setting, you know what I mean? Same situation, but
yeah, it's definitely the transition from, day to day in the business, in the client accounts, and then, good delegation to team members, right? I mean, obviously I hired them, they're good, but it's hard to, at least for me, make that transition.
Can you break down, it's you plus 9?
It's me plus 8.
You plus 8.
Yeah.
Can you break down who the 8 are? What are their titles, or what are their roles?
So
skill sets, I suppose.
So 3 senior Google people, my director of paid media, who is doing a lot of Facebook stuff, designer and creative, strategist, another designer, and then a junior PPC person, myself and a junior paid social person.
Okay. So I guess why are you still so involved with the like literally everybody you said is either a media buyer or somebody who makes creatives.
And we're top heavy too. Like we're top heavy from a senior talent standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah. So why are you involved with account still?
That is an incredibly good question to have.
Do you know the answer? Is that what you're
I mean, I think it's a control situation, right? And like letting things go from something that I built from nothing, right?
who closes the clients?
I close the clients.
And then you do their onboarding or you do their initial strategy, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's like, how do I transition them from like either just handing them off right at the start and being transparent at the start, right? Because a lot of the people who come into the agency come in because of me, right? And like they see me on Twitter or on LinkedIn and they like the way I think. They see me on a podcast.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we like the way you think. And then it can be, at least for me, awkward because they'll ask, like, oh, who's going to manage this? And it can be awkward to be like, oh, I'm not going to be involved at all, right? And like, is that going to not close a deal or something? And so, yeah, I mean,
So then you get involved in the strategy and then you get involved in the day-to-day. And the reason you're doing that isn't necessarily because you don't think your team members can do it. It's because it's your reputation, not theirs.
Right. And I think, especially because I probably started the business at I did start at a young age, but like there's a level of the business being intertwined with myself, right? That is probably higher than had I just like started in the last couple of years. So like I kind of view the business reputation as my own reputation, and them being very linked together.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I used to say to my team members is like, like if they would put a media plan together and they're like, this is what I would launch, I would have this same problem when I was getting going. This is what I want to launch or whatever. I'm like, I get it. Like, this is what you want to do. Like, you want to put your name on it. But like, would you put my name on this?
Right.
If this was a paper you were turning in, would you put my name on it? And that usually actually gives them a little bit more pause because they're like, oh, like, am I willing to stake your reputation on it? That's the good team members. The bad team members are like, I'm more willing.
Right.
Do your team members have contact with the client?
Yeah. So
I will say over time, the client should be buying into them just as much, if not more.
Oh, they do. And like, especially with the team members who have been around a longer amount of time, like there are definitely clients that I'm not really involved in outside of like, when we have the monthly strategy calls or things like that. I'm not on the reporting calls, and like that's great. And they have great rapport with
but you feeling like
account managers.
Seems like it takes maybe a little too long for that to happen. Like it needs to happen earlier in the process.
Yeah. I think I'm bad with that.
In order for you to scale. So, when I sold my agency, I went through this because I sold to an agency with someone who has a pretty large personal brand.
Okay.
I mean, him. It was structured.
Yep.
That I sold to. And he had the same thing, right? He's like, people want me, right? Like people, and like he just literally couldn't anymore. His job was to be on podcasts, doing speaking events, doing lots of stuff. And he literally could not be an ad account or looking over the media plans we put together. So that was why he brought me in, because I had built this agency and I had been able to kind of remove myself from it in a sense. And I think that a lot of it for me was like, you're actually more nervous about it than you should be. So I realized, because I went through that same thing, and I realized like if in that initial onboarding call and strategy call, I just bring in the person and they present their strategy and their plan, that buy-in happens almost instantly.
Right.
Then after that, all I really need to do is maybe be present in the Slack channel for a little bit and show up on the subsequent calls, and then I can show up on every other call, and then it can be every fourth call. But I really didn't need to do any execution, and I sure as hell don't need to look over their media plan and make my tweaks to it.
Right.
If I find myself having to look over their media plan and make my tweaks to it, then what's really happening there is I just don't trust that they're actually good.
Right.
And I think that's when it's just like, okay, well then
that's a separate problem.
It's a separate problem. right? Like maybe you just need to let them go then.
Right.
But I would tell like the media, like I would hire people that I'd be like, I want you to be able to sort of play ISO on this, right? Like just you can manage the relationship and manage the media. And I was nervous that the clients wanted me, and Shaq was nervous that the clients wanted him. That's the person at Structure.
Right.
For the listener, sorry. You know.
Yep.
But you'd be surprised. Like you just make that intro, and the way he would do it is he would just gas me up when it was me, and then the way I would do it, or when it was going to be someone else, we would just gas that person up and be like, look, you know, hey, I'm overseeing a lot these days. Like I'm kind of like high level on all these things. Like this is the person who's in it, right? Like this is the person who's doing the day to day. They like really know, right? And he would just gas whoever it was up that he was handing off to,
Right.
Or that's what I would. And like just that like check mark. I get that it's nerve wracking, and you're going to be nervous the first few times you do it, but a lot of times the client's just like dope. Like you're like. They feel like you're telling them about the guy behind the guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
they objectively do a better job than I do because they're like, they're in there all day,
they
right?
100% do it better. You're not even lying about it.
Right.
You know, but like, that's if you can kind of give the client the feeling that like, hey, you know, like I know I'm sort of the guy publicly, but like the person who I'm really learning from is this guy.
They're pulling my strings.
Yeah. This is where I go for my Google knowledge, or my Facebook ads knowledge. It's interesting because you already have the trust factor.
Right.
Now, then if you're having problems where you're churning out clients regularly or you're not getting the results, then again, different problem. Then you have a problem of like, you know, your QA for hiring performance marketing people isn't very good, or the clients you're bringing in you're not setting them up to win or something like that. It's a whole other problem. We ran into those problems as well. But the actual handoff problem, it's not hard. You just gotta like be brave enough.
Yeah, it's an emotional problem.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah, you got to be brave enough. And honestly, when you look at their media plans, are you really tweaking much?
I mean, not really.
No.
And like that's the other thing, right? Is like if it gets to the same place, even if you do it a little differently, like you're still getting to the same place.
Yeah, well, and so sometimes what would happen is somebody would do it very differently than how I would do it. But if I question them about it, they had good logic.
Right.
And that's all I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Like I don't need you to do it exactly how I would do it. But I'm like, oh, you have good logic. You know how to make decisions if this goes south. You know how to make decisions if you need to scale this. Like, you know what you're doing, even if it's not exactly how I would do it. So,
right.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do a better job. Like,
yeah,
the results are better than what it would have been if you did it.
Yeah,
and then that's the new SOP.
Exactly. The thing they did that you wouldn't have done works way better. And then you're like, well, damn, what do I know?
Right. Which is kind of fun, actually.
Yeah. And then you get to learn. Then you actually legitimately do get to learn. And so, yeah, like I think a lot of it, dude, is just like, it's a bravery thing, right? Like take a look at all those clients right now that you're still heavily involved in. Like what happens if like next week, it's Friday while we're shooting this, right? What happens if next week you're just like, hey, you know, like I'm just realizing how much more this person you're working with knows than me. Like they're just teaching me some stuff. And like, I think they're like your main person. I don't think they're, you know, and maybe you don't even need to say it in a lot of circumstances. What if you just stop showing up for the calls? You know what I mean?
Probably nothing would happen, right?
Exactly. You might feel a little useless.
Yeah. I'll write more blog content, I guess.
Your identity, you'll get a little identity crisis. That'll happen for sure. But then what you need to do is you need to create some kind of feedback loop to yourself so you don't start to feel out of touch with it. Because part of it is a trust thing and part of it is a fear thing. But part of it is that you identify as this skilled set person. I have this skill set. I've built this knowledge. And it comes from, it's being a poker player, it's being a trader. It's like, those are skill sets, right? And you want to be like the best at that skill set. So you've built the skill set that you're very good at. You identify that, and you feel like if you stop doing it, you're going to be out of practice. So that's part of the fear as well.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure that you're either maybe I'm always working on one client, trying stuff, right? Or I'm having like weekly things where y'all are coaching me, teaching me, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah. And like, it's a transition to a whole new skill set.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Now I'm building a new skill set.
Yep.
Well, cool, man. Colin, it's good to have you. Where do people find you? Look at the this is where you look at the camera.
CJ Slattery on Twitter, and then Collin Slattery on LinkedIn. Two main places to find me.
Tycoon Digital.
TycoonDigital.com
if you want to work with the people who teach Colin everything.
Exactly.
That they know. Cool. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate the time.